just starting to like it backwards more than I even do forwards. That is, Love walked in through the door. Thank you very much, Thunder. I wish you'd let me play it forwards. Damn it. Damn it. Hey, it's Southside Steve, and this is the Yeah Come On Show, show 118. I'm your host. That's Brett Barney, my co-host, and our co-host is Evan, otherwise known as Brando to us. And we have a special guest that I would like to intro quickly. We will get into all his sections of life, but a quick summary: 22 years served, proud American in our U.S. Army. God bless you. He's done 2 tours, Special Forces. He's no stranger to Iraq. He was an NFL cheerleader, believe it or not, for the Baltimore Ravens. And that's cool. Just lifting chicks professionally. And, he's fit. I mean, I'm not going to put that down. My father was a male cheerleader, and that was for Rice College. He's my father, but he's really my stepfather. My real father never would have done that. And then, is that too weird?
No, roll with it, baby.
I'm rolling with it. And then he's also in radio. He does sports radio. He has a master's degree. He's definitely the most intelligent person right now on with the 4 of us. And he's a badass. He'll kick your ass, and he can go firecracker, firecracker, boom, 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 go Ravens. I love this guy. Mark Zinno. Mark Zinno. Did I get it right? Zinno,
yeah. Everyone says Zinno.
Damn it, Zinno.
One way or another. You're good. You're good.
You're so well researched that the last name feels like, okay, we'll give it to him.
Everybody makes that mistake, so he's good. Don't sweat it.
No, and you know what? I could have asked you ahead of time, but I just wanted to go fresh and go in, and it's Zinno. Mark Zinno, and you live in Smyrna, Georgia, and you're a father, which is probably the coolest thing about you. And you got twins, right?
Yes. Yeah. Twins and
you have an
older stepson. Yeah.
And you have a stepson in there. So you got 3 going on. Are the twins both boys?
Yes.
Oh my God. You got 3 dudes that are going to look like you. By the way, I couldn't help notice. It looks like you did about 30 push-ups today.
Yeah, a little bit here and there. I tend to find my way into the gym from time to time. Listen, kills time in between meals, I guess, right?
No, it does. And if you look at Brett, you'll notice he did not do push-ups today. And if you look at Evan, you will notice that he has never done a push-up.
Right.
I don't know what's going on. The mechanics seem confusing.
No, but I think it's so cool. When I looked, I'm following you now on Instagram, and we'll have a cigarette break at some point. I want people to know how they can follow you. A very impressive individual. We're going to start off with some football talk because obviously we've got the big game coming our way. But Mark, I can't thank you enough. I wore my red, white, and blue Yeah Come On hat.
There you go. There you go.
Because nothing makes me prouder than your service, and I just want to thank you for that. And I know you get thanked a lot, but to do those 2 tours and put your life on the line for us, nobody can ever thank somebody like you enough. And then I can't wait to hear about the football stuff. That's fantastic. I dated a girl that was on the Falcons when they were co-ed back in the day. They had that for about 2 years before they went back to cheerleaders. And then being in radio like ourselves. So let's get started with our special guest, Mark Zinno, right now on the Yeah Come On show. We got a Super Bowl. Who's going to win?
Well, who's going to win or who's going to cover? I think those are 2 different questions.
It is. Let's go with who's going to
cover.
Win.
Let's get some money.
You're talking to me. Good teams win, great teams cover. So that's all I really care about. And right now,
4 points, right? Are we at
4.5? Yeah, I got the Bengals getting 4.5. The public has quickly jumped on the Rams, and I kind of understand why. Despite all of Joe Burrow's exploits and how much fun he's been, the Rams have the better offense. They're a more well-rounded team. They have a better offensive line, clearly, and they have a lot more veteran experience. And the Cincinnati Bengals sort of margin of victory this postseason has been so razor thin. You could argue that if it wasn't for the refs and Rich Bisaccia, the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, being a total douche nozzle when it comes to managing the clock in the final 2 minutes, that game goes into overtime or they don't win that game. They had to go to overtime against the Tennessee Titans, who were a better team than they were, who just botched that entire game from start to finish to win that one. And then they need to go to overtime again after falling behind to the Chiefs 21-3. So all 3 of those games, they simply could have lost. And you have to wonder if their sort of luck and good fortune is going to run out, because it's really hard to get it to happen 4 weeks in a row or 4 games in a row. But some teams are just kind of the team of destiny. I was saying earlier on one of the other sports gambling shows that I do, the total is more interesting to me than anything else. It was, originally opened up at 50. It's been bet down to like 48.5 now. A lot of sharp bettors are jumping on the under with good reason. There's not a game script for me that plays out where Cincinnati wins the game if the total goes over. Like, I don't see them winning a 31, 30, 33, 31 kind of game. Like that doesn't favor them. All 3 games of this postseason, they've gone under. I could see a way a Rams could win an under game, much similar to the way they beat the 49ers in an under game. But I don't know if I can come up with a formula where they're going to be able to outduel the Los Angeles Rams just simply because every time Joe Burrow drops back to pass, there's a whole bunch of bad things that can happen with that offensive line. So I don't like that formula for them. I like the under and I like the Bengals.
Well, there you go, man. I dig it. Believe me, I'm listening because I do know I am not a good sports bettor because I'm doing okay. The kind of betting, and anybody that's looking at it, whether you're on a legal sports bet or you got a little bookie guy or whoever you're dealing with, or you're doing DraftKings. DraftKings, I suck. I did win $40, but I haven't made the big money. I've been.
It doesn't even get you a tank of gas right now, so it's not even money.
No, it's not. You're exactly right. It doesn't. Tank of gas for me is $82.
Yeah,
be honest with you. It's exactly what it is.
Half off.
Half off. Thank you.
Math.
Problem
There
is
you
you had
go.
to invest $100 into a DraftKings account to get 40 out of it to get a half a tank of gas. It's not worth it.
No, you're exactly right. Now, it's kind of cool that you bash that. I think I'm starting to second guess doing it, but I like the fun bets. I kind of go with, not trying to pick a team, but who's going to score touchdowns,
Right.
that kind of stuff.
The
Yeah.
coin toss.
Yeah, I mean, I'll mess with that on the Super Bowl. Obviously, those are fun. Will the national anthem, based on this country singer, will it go over or not?
That's
whatever.
a great. That's funny.
Yeah, I'm like, she might throw a little. I don't know if she will.
Mhm.
But those are fun. But prop bets seem to be the only way. I mean, it's like, who bets who's going to score more in the first, second, third, or fourth quarter? Who's going to bet those kind of bets? Who's going to,
I'll give you the prop bet to take home. You can take this to the bank and I'll stake you half of your bet. How's that sound? Joe Burrow over 11.5 rushing yards.
Oh, that's an
That's
easy.
a bet. I'll take it.
Yeah.
That's easy. How about scoring drive that's shorter than the anthem?
Oh, time wise, yeah. Well, that's
a
that
good
can
one.
come down to a couple of seconds there. That's a little bit there's a little bit of variance there that I can't eliminate. But the other favorite one I always like in the Super Bowl, 3 unanswered scores. They usually, you usually get paid about 2.5 to 1 on that. Is what they usually put it at, somewhere in that range, around 235 to 1, $2.35 it is. So usually a team, and what's happened to the Bengals, in this postseason is they've had that happen where they got out to a lead with the Titans and then they came all the way back and tied it up with 3 consecutive scores without being, having one interrupted. And the same thing happened in the Kansas City game. They got out 3 scores and then finally, so, that's always a fun one to bet, but you need some things to go your way. And really what you're hoping is that one of the things you're hoping is that the team that touches the ball last in the second half gets the kickoff, or touches the ball last in the first half, gets a kickoff in the second half, and they go back to back. That's really how you make it happen for yourself.
I like field goal over 40 yards.
I was just thinking about that one.
Well,
Because with McPherson. Sorry.
Zach Taylor kind of sucks as a head coach, and he kicks way too many field goals, so that's a really good one to take.
I like that over 42. That's one I was looking at. That's a good one, Brett.
Yeah.
When you talk about real quick, and I'm going to ask you just because you're just not, just talking trash. I think when you look at what happened, all these teams that lost at home that had the advantage, how does Kansas City lose at home with all their fans? How does Green Bay lose at home in the snow, against the 49ers? You saw what happened leading up to this. The Rams are the only ones that won at home. And like you said, it was a squeaker. Who should have been in the Super Bowl to you? Who should have been in it?
Well,
Because I don't know that either one of these teams should be there. I get the Joe Burrow thing. The guy's fast. He's deceiving. I mean, he was LSU quarterback. I get what he's working with and everything. I like Mixon. There's a lot of things going on, but I didn't even see them there.
no, I mean, listen, the Bengals were I think 38 to 1 right when before the playoffs started to win the Super Bowl. So it's not they weren't a very sexy bet. And a lot of that's due to youth and inexperience. I mean, clearly it should have been the Chiefs. And it takes the worst second half of Patrick Mahomes' career in order for them to lose that game. It's just, as a bettor, that's you can never account for that. You can't go put in your handicap. Well, I expect Patrick Mahomes to have the worst second half he's ever played of football in his professional life, and that's how I'm going to win this game. No, like that's just not the way it goes. So Kansas City should have been. And look, I would argue that it should have been the Buccaneers over the Rams. If it wasn't Kansas City, it should have been the Bills, because really the Bills should have beat Kansas City, and the Bills would have never lost to Cincinnati.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you. Is if you mentioned that you thought the Chiefs should be there, but it feels like to me Bills kind of had all the
I had to back it up a little bit. I thought you were just I mean in the last week, but then I thought again, the Bills to me were a better team than the Chiefs. It's just football's a circumstantial game at times. It's situational. And the Chiefs took advantage of the situation. I think both those defenses were exhausted. I'm not going to get into this NFL overtime rules discussion. For the record, they're fine. Stop bitching. But had the Bills got the ball first, they probably would have done the same thing. March right down the field and score a touchdown. That's just the breaks. It's kind of the way it happens. Get over it, fans. Like seriously, grow up. And so they were the best team in the AFC. But I really would have thought the Buccaneers should have beat the Rams. That was, again, Tom Brady and Buccaneers offense had a terrible, terrible, terrible first half. Now they came back and tied the thing up, and then they give up a field goal in 40 seconds. I mean, you can't have that kind of stuff happen. Like those are the kind of things that just aren't the norm. They normally don't happen. And then believe it or not, if it had been the Niners and the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game, I kind of think the Niners would have beat them. Wow. I kind of think the Niners would have been able to beat that team in a weird way, because the familiarity that the Rams had with the Niners, I think helped them a little bit in being able to overcome at the end there. With Brady and the Buccaneers, you could tell they were kind of losing steam a little bit. I think that the Eagles weren't a real enough test for them. But yeah, I kind of think that's the way it would have went, to be honest with you.
It was great.
Niners Bills would have been Chris Berman's the fantasy Super Bowl from years ago. If you're old enough to remember Chris Berman, every year, like 10 years in a row, he picked Niners and Bills in the Super Bowl, and so it finally would have come true for him.
That's awesome. I agree. I just never thought I'd see these two teams, and like I said, when you see the 49ers,
it's an ugly Super. Listen, man,
it is ugly. I hate ugly Super Bowls.
If this was a game, like let's say you go to a sports book or you go to a bar, right? And they put one game, the sound on, and this is a regular season game. They're never putting the sound for this game on ever.
No.
There is
I wouldn't watch
nothing
it.
about anybody wants to watch. Like this is the week where we start inventing storylines like Joe Burrow's glasses and his jewelry, and we
the way he dresses,
and we start finding random storylines that we try to make this thing somewhat interesting. I mean, nobody in LA cares about the Rams, period. Right?
Yeah,
like
they don't. We love it because Stafford's in it. Stafford, all those years at Detroit,
no, we don't.
UGA boy.
No, we don't.
Some of us do.
No,
some do.
No, I'm with Mark.
Can I tell you how nauseated I am already at the idea that someone is going to put Matt Stafford in the Hall of Fame if he wins this thing? That is the most
his stats aren't better than Matt Ryan.
Forget Matt Ryan for a second. He is Trent Dilfer with more yards and more touchdowns. That's it.
That's really funny.
He's made one Pro Bowl. He's never made an All-Pro. He's never led the league in any passing category other than attempts his entire career. He's never gotten an MVP vote. The guy has no business getting into the Hall of Fame without a ticket. That's it.
For most of his career, he's also playing with arguably the greatest wide receiver of all time.
So I don't care. It doesn't matter.
Well, I'm saying it pads the stats a little bit.
So here's what I'll say.
He doesn't look like he's never getting in the Hall of Fame because he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm saying Brett Barney could throw to Calvin Johnson and do okay.
It's just it's so laughable that someone's having this conversation. It's like so stupid.
Yeah. For that reason alone, I'm looking at the Bengals. You convinced me, but yeah, he just looks to me like he's never really awake. I'm like, you got to wake up. He looks like he's sleepy.
That's what happens on your ass for 10 years in Detroit.
Oh, that's great. Now, right. Again, we've got Mike Zinno on with us, and he's definitely got some opinions. Finishing up the football, Brett, you had a couple of things, and I saw that you put together a couple of things too, Evan, that could be profitable for people. Let's go over those bets real quick before we take a break.
Okay, first off, I'm waiting for somebody, and Mark, you may have seen this, not Mike, on Twitter.
Sorry.
That the Bengals plus 15,000 before the season to win the Super Bowl. I haven't seen anybody that took that bet up at all.
I saw on Twitter one ticket for the Bengals. It was $100 bet at 30,000 to 1, or something in that range, some crazy number too. Or was it to win the AFC? Maybe it was just to win the AFC. That cash. I don't know about winning the Super Bowl, but I got to tell you, man, honestly, if I'm holding on to that ticket, I cash it in immediately right now for half the price. If they're giving me 51% of it, I'll take the money and walk. It's not even worth it. It's like, they do that now. If you're not familiar, like you can basically trade in a live ticket for a certain value of what you put down, or a certain percentage of what you put down to save the sportsbook money. They'd rather have, the known quantity of X. They'd rather only lose 12,000 as opposed to losing 30,000, whatever it may be. So if you have that ticket, just take the money and run. There's no reason not to at this point. If you get greedy like that, it's just not worth it to lose. It's just not, to me, it's not. As a gambler and somebody who does bankroll management, that's a big part of it. Manage your bankroll. You don't have to go for gusto. You would have had a ticket that won. And at the end of the day, if you're scrambling for that kind of money to get by and make ends meet, well, then we've got other problems we need to discuss, and you shouldn't be gambling to begin with.
Hey,
don't gamble with money you ain't got, Brett.
Pretty much.
The one that I thought was actually kind of crazy was watching the Cincinnati game, and I'm going, I wonder what halftime looks like. I think Chiefs were minus 10,000 and Bengals were plus 8,000. How many people lost their ass on that?
Yeah, I mean, live betting is it's not a science, it's an art form, man. There's a lot of feel and a lot of, just sort of guessing. And it's really hard sometimes. Like I occasionally I'll play second half bets, not live bets, just in the middle of a football game. I'll look at the line for the second half for the rest of the game, what it is, and play that. But, live betting's tough. It can be very profitable. And if you're going to live bet, it's one of those scenarios for me. Like if I am on a dog and the other team scores early and the line inflates, I'll do that because I feel, I bet on the dog because I think they're going to get back in the game. So I usually jump in live betting early, not later, because obviously I have more time to get the things to swing in my favor. So it's not for everybody. It's an easy way to lose money. It's kind of like sitting at a craps table and you just keep putting, money down, and somebody keeps throwing a 7. Next thing you know, your bankroll's empty. So
it's also an easy way to manage money. That's kind of what I do. I like the lives. So I can be sitting there and adding and adding and adding. And I can also be going, wow, I'm going to lose this. Maybe I can recoup something.
Yep. I mean, sometimes you hedge, if you're on the wrong side, or hedge the other way. It's not my forte. I fully admit that when it comes to gambling. I usually consult with friends and people that I trust and handicappers that I know. I'm like, hey, here's what I'm thinking right now on the live line. What do you think? Because sometimes it's just so emotional. I'm watching a game and I start to get jaded about what I'm watching because I already have a wager in, it's different for different people.
I got something for you. So we've talked a little bit about just some of the elements of the Super Bowl. We've talked about, offensive lines being a key to the matchup. We talked about veteran, playership. What do you think some keys to the Super Bowl are that people aren't thinking about or talking about? Like, what is like a big talking point in your head?
For me, coaching. Both of these guys are not great in-game coaches. Zach Taylor's awful. I had an argument with a friend today. I'm like, he's terrible. I don't understand how you can sit here and call him a good coach. If you haven't watched his games, like when he goes for it on 4th down, when he kicks field goals, when, it's just, he's got this erratic tendency that's really hard to figure out. I think he kicks way too many field goals. And I am not I'm still part of the, Bill Parcells growing up as a Giants fan kind of coaching. Like I like the old school smash mouth football where we run the ball, play defense, and we'll take the 3 points because I trust my defense. Yeah, a little bit of that, except
I feel you.
Suck.
Hey,
the Giants are even worse. So what can I say at this point? I have nothing to say. They're an embarrassment. But to that point, I mean, the way the game is skewed right now and the way the game is, tilted towards offense, you have to lean into that to a certain, point. And so I don't think Zach Taylor is very good at that. And I think Sean McVay is an excellent schemer and a great play caller. But again, in-game management stuff sometimes is so crucial. Situational football has become so much more of a thing than it's ever been before that one or two mistakes, one or two bad decisions can clearly change the outcome of a game. And so I don't trust either one of these coaches all that much. They are very hard for me to get behind. I've said this. I think that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon and a whole bunch of offensive guys are really bailing out a coach that has a tendency to screw up tight moments. I mean, go back to the regular season game between the Chiefs and the Bengals in week 17, the one that the Bengals won 34-31. It was an over game. In fact, the last time the Bengals went over in a total in a game. If you remember, the Bengals got inside the 5-yard line with like a minute and 50 seconds left. And they were in a tie ball game. And it was like one of those things, do we keep pushing and go for it and try to get a touchdown? Or do we kick a field goal? Do we try to run as much clock and kick a field goal and give Patrick Mahomes the ball back? And so they got the benefit of having three penalties inside the 5-yard line that gave them fresh first downs where all they had to do was take knees and kill it out. Like that was a pure situation where Zach Taylor would have screwed it up. I would have bet against it every time because you're just not that good in those moments and how to manage it. And so, I look at coaching as one of them. Anytime you're betting with an offensive line like Cincinnati's, it's trouble. I mean, look what happened to the Chiefs last year with the Buccaneers. Patrick Mahomes got brutalized for 4 quarters because his offensive line was hot garbage in the game, and it can totally change things. It forces turnovers, forces quarterbacks into bad decisions, and that's why I take Joe Burrow's over 11.5 yards, because at least to this point, the kid has proven, guess what? If it's not there, I'm not throwing it. I'll just tuck it down and run. He took 9 sacks in a game and they won. He's not worried about taking a sack, right? Like, I mean, did you see what Kyler Murray did in his playoff game? Oh, they're getting after him. I'm just going to just sort of throw where no one's looking. And guess what? It's pick 6 for a touchdown. Like, so it's stuff like that can clearly change a game in a bettor's favor. And that's my biggest fear in betting on them, is that I get a sack, strip, fumble. Like one of the props I played in the AFC Championship game was a Kansas City defensive or special teams touchdown, thinking that there would be a sack, strip, fumble. And that's not anything that's Joe Burrow's fault, just because their offensive line is so bad, he might get blindsided next thing you know. And I would bet that same prop again for the Rams in this Super Bowl. Look, the Chiefs only got 1 sack against Joe Burrow because he was scrambling around all over the place, right? He decided to start running. It's typically not what he's done all year long, but I think he's got that in his back pocket and knows, look, man, I'm Joe Cool now. I'm not afraid to take off and run. And it's not like it's week 5 where they're like, hey, man, just get a couple of yards and slide. They're like, this is the freaking Super Bowl, dude. Lower your shoulder, knock somebody on their ass and get a first down, because everything matters right now. So 11.5 yards, yeah, man, that's a gift. That's an absolute gift.
Yeah, totally agreed with that. And I like his speed. He shocked me how fast he was. I mean, I paid a little bit of attention. But I'm like, yeah, he's quick. He's got.
Well, when 300-pound men are chasing you and they're faster than you are, I'd run for my life too.
Damn right. Again, it's the Come On Show, show 118. Mark Zinno is our special guest. We're going to get more into his background. Right now, we're going to take a commercial break. I just want to thank joebees.com. Bee pollen, I highly recommend it. Call them, 877-356-32, or go to joebees.com, joebes.com. I bet Mark digs bee pollen. There's amino acids. There's vitamins. It helps pump up your muscles. And I got to tell you, you don't have seasonal allergies. Then there's oxygenfinancial.com with Ted Jenkins. Anybody that makes money betting like Mark does, you need to invest it properly. It's a crazy-ass market out there. Circle285.com. Mark's not going to pay State Farm for 19 years. He's going to move around. He's going to shake. He's going to get the best deal. And that's what Circle 285 does. They give you free quotes, putting you with the best. Do you have an umbrella and a trampoline in your backyard? Ask yourself. Ridgeline Counseling. The one thing Mark doesn't need is counseling, but Brett needs it. Evan really needs it. And Dr. David Markwell is there for both of you and anyone else. He helped me. I did couples counseling before getting married just to make sure I was with the right one. The only person that was broke was me, and we're still trying to fix me. But David Markwell will Zoom with you, or he'll talk to you in person. Those are our sponsors. We'll be back with the Come On Show after this.
And now a brief word from our sponsors.
Hi. Have you tried bee pollen? You should. Joe Bees. It helps. Seasonal allergies cured me. I bought a nasal spray. I bought eye drops and I bought pills. I used none of it. Why? Because I'm on bee pollen. Takes 2 to 3 weeks to work. Allow that to happen. There is a 100% money back guarantee. Also helps with stress. Do you have any? Helps with digestion. Again, vitamins, amino acids in bee pollen, not made in a laboratory, made in nature. Give them a call, 877-356-32. This has been a commercial by Southside Steve.
We now return to the Yakimon Variety Hour.
Yeah, we're back with Mark Zinno. And Mark, we're going to get into a little more of your background. At the beginning of the show, we summarized your life, and I don't know how that feels, but again, to me, you're
unimpressive at best.
I mean, you're very impressive. I mean, when you look at it, I mean, if you read your own stuff, I mean, your shit is good.
No, I try not to.
Well, dude, buy into yourself a little bit. Matter of fact, if you've got a mirror nearby, when you get off this podcast, look at it and go, hell yeah. Because the fact that you served your country for 22 years, and I can see the seriousness in it in special forces and doing 2 tours in Iraq. I don't know how you became an NFL cheerleader for the Baltimore Ravens. I know that you can probably hold 2 girls in either hand. And then there's radio, and then there's sports betting. So I will allow you real quick a cigarette break. If you could give us a little bit on each one of those subjects, and then let people know how they can follow you, because I think you're worth following just on your sports betting knowledge alone.
Well, let me clarify from a military standpoint. I am not special forces. I deployed with those guys, but I'm not tabbed. I'm not a Green Beret, but I have the utmost respect for all those guys. And I got to deploy and train and fight alongside some of the America's best warriors. And some of those guys I'm still very good friends with, and I talk to still to this day. But, you know, I originally got into the military through college. You know, I needed it to pay for college. I did ROTC, and this is a pre 9/11 world when I signed up. So I just I thought it was going to be a means to an end. You know, I thought I was just going to do my 4 years and get out. And, you know, lo and behold, 22 plus years later, you know, I'm wearing the rank of colonel, and I'm still kicking around, which I, you know, would argue is proof that if you stay in the military long enough and don't screw anything up that badly, they'll give you whatever you want. So there's an argument to be made for that. But, you know, my deployments have been, you know, some of the highlights of my career. Again, I've been fortunate enough to fight alongside some of America's greatest warriors, and you know, just kind of have that experience, you know, is something that I'll take with me forever. And you know, again, it's led me to the Hazard Ground podcast, as you can see, which is my podcast. It's Tales of Combat and Survival from military members. We've got over 4 million downloads, 250 episodes, worldwide audience. We've been listened to in Australia, Britain, you know, Philippines, everywhere. We get, you know, emails and you know, DMs and everything from people all across America, just telling us how much they appreciate what we're doing, and having these stories told. You know, I mean, not everybody's going to be American Sniper or Lone Survivor, but everybody has a story to tell, and everybody's story is important, and it's a piece of the pie, and you don't get the whole pie without their story. And so that was our whole goal in the podcast, was just to tell stories of American service members. And we've told stories from every major combat engagement since World War II. We had the 3rd oldest living survivor of Pearl Harbor on the show. You know, multiple Vietnam vets, you know, Grenada, Panama, you know, Somalia, Black Hawk Down, Gulf War, the first Gulf War, obviously everybody from Iraq and Afghanistan. So, you know, it's just one of my real big passion projects. Very, very proud of it. Been going strong for 5 years now. Again, over 250 episodes. We release one a week, every week for the last 5 years. So go to hazardground.com. You can hear every episode right there as well. The cheerleading thing was sort of, you know, I guess weird, not weird, but it was more serendipitous than anything.
Was this when you were in your experimental phase?
Yeah, something like that. Experimental meaning high school and college. Yeah, it was pretty much it. So it's like the short story is, I was approached about it by the girls in high school in between my football and baseball seasons. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And they're like, no, we don't need you to do it. And then when I got to college, the freshman orientation, the cheerleaders did a demonstration for everybody and said, hey, here's where tryouts are. And then lo and behold, there were guys who were in the ROTC program who were also in the cheerleading squad. And there was a girl in the cheerleading squad who lived on my floor. And so after the freshman orientation thing, I went up to some of the cheerleaders and was talking to them about it and just having a conversation with them. And then like a week later, I get a knock on my door, and it's the cheerleader girl. And she is gorgeous. Like, you know, 18-year-old me is like,
What are you doing, Mark? Would you
Yeah,
like
she's
to
like, "Hi,
study?
I saw that you were talking to the cheerleaders. I want you to come to practice." And I'm like, "I'll go wherever you want me to go. Whatever
Tell
you
me
want.
what to do.
Just tell me what to do." So she grabbed my hand to practice, and I walked in, and she said, "Hi, everybody. This is Mark. He wants to be a cheerleader." And I'm like, "I do." And then 20 girls came up to me and gave me a big hug. Thought I was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I said, "Okay, yeah,
Girl.
I'll be a cheerleader. I'm here. I'll stay. Thank you."
I've
And so,
always
like I said,
wanted.
yeah, exactly. And so there were a couple of guys in ROTC who were also on the cheerleading team, and so it just kind of we all became real tight friends. And then, it started there for 4 years in college, and then it went beyond that. I cheered on like all-star teams in Texas and in Florida, and then the Ravens came calling. The Ravens started an NFL team. I was also in college at the time, and so they started the Ravens cheerleading team, and then I signed up there. I did that for 7 non-consecutive years. I had a couple of military years and a deployment and everything in between, but I spent 7 years as a member of the Baltimore Ravens cheerleading squad. So no, I wasn't there when they went to the Super Bowl. I was off the first time and I wasn't on the team the second time. So nonetheless, I wasn't there, but whatever. Cheerleading was a lot of fun. Met some great people, some friendships for a lifetime. So it's an interesting
Hey,
experience.
George Bush
Yeah.
was a cheerleader.
That's
I
right.
love that.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law did cheer for
John
Rice.
F. Kennedy, I think. Yeah.
John,
So
yeah. And he's like, I could bench more than a lot of the football players. I may not have had their speed, but I could lift girls, and it was a great way to meet girls. So I was like, I don't blame you. That's
yeah,
cool.
I mean, listen, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night. So I kind of knew what I
Yeah.
was doing. Once I figured out what the whole game was, I was like, yeah, I'll hang around. I'll stay. This makes a lot of sense for me in the long term.
Well done. Is your wife one of your cheerleaders?
No, she isn't. That doesn't mean that I haven't thrown her up in the air and stunts and everything else. Like I just taught her, because she's tiny. So,
That's great.
she's not gravitationally challenged. I mean, that's the polite way of saying it.
That's nice.
Yeah.
She's
so,
not fat. She's not
yeah, that too.
fat.
Yeah.
No, I love
Well,
it.
it's 2022. We got to be PC. So,
All right, she's not slightly overweight.
no, she's not overweight at all. In fact, she's quite underweight.
Underweight. Okay, cool.
But underweight in certain spots, overweight in others, if you know what I mean.
God, I love it. I love
know
what
what
you're
he
doing.
means.
I love her, and I haven't even seen her. No, that's great. And then what is your radio? Talk to me about what you do in radio in
Okay,
Atlanta.
so yeah, I mean it's been kind of a wild career. I started out initially doing play-by-play for my alma mater. That's how I really got like my first crack into it. And then I had to deploy, and so I kind of had to put everything down. And then I got back, and I started like I literally just was taking jobs anywhere behind a microphone. I worked for Sirius XM doing traffic. Like, they have traffic stations. They're like, I'm doing traffic in Phoenix. And I'm like,
Yeah.
in DC, giving people traffic reports in Phoenix. I took a news job, like doing news in the mornings at a small little station in Annapolis, Maryland. Because after my first deployment, I had gone back to Baltimore because all my friends were there. I was in my mid-20s and I still had a lot of life in front of me. And I didn't end up going back to New York with the family. I went to Loyola's. That's where I went to college in Baltimore. And so I kind of had connections in Baltimore and just decided to stay there. And then eventually I got the job at ESPN Radio in Baltimore, moved up there and was there for 8 years, doing everything just from like sports reports to hosting weekend shows. And then I got a regular show. I was, doing shows during the middle of the day with a partner. And then I deployed again. So I had to put everything down and then come back and start all over again. And then in 2014, CBS Radio at the time where I was working for asked me to move to Atlanta to take the night show here. So I worked for both stations here in Atlanta, doing drive time for, I was at 92.9, I was doing evenings. Then I went over to Atlanta Sports X. I was doing afternoons there. And so, which is the same company as 680 The Fan. And so I was doing that. And then I actually switched over to news talk for a hot minute for a very
Wow.
politics, which I enjoyed. And then now I'm kind of out of terrestrial radio right now as we speak, as we sit here on February 3rd. I'll probably get back there at some point in time, but right now it's more podcasting, digital media, and then all the sports gambling stuff that I have going on right now, working for 3 different outlets: VSiN, which is Vegas Sports Information Network, Sports Grid, and PicksWise. are consuming most of my time doing all the sports betting stuff there. So it's a lot of digital, audio, digital. Well, Sports Grid is on Sirius XM as well. So my show also goes on Sirius XM when I'm on Sports Grid. So
tip of the come on ball cap, dude. You're a busy man. You got your hands in a lot, and your knowledge. I'm enjoying it. I think you're gaining a lot of listeners as far as just your sports bets alone. How can people follow you or reach you?
On Twitter and Instagram at Mark Zinno, MarkZinno. That's it. I'm on Twitter more. I'm pretty boring on Instagram. There's just a lot of, pics of my kids and every now and then a
Me
gym.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, but like my life is fun. I drink a lot of bourbon, so every now and then I'll post a picture of me drinking bourbon because bourbon's delicious. There you go.
No complaints there, brother. You're talking to a dark liquor man since the 10th grade.
Whiskey, scotch, bourbon, just give me it all. I got a very, very stock liquor cabinet. But I spend a lot of my time on Twitter. You'll find all my gambling stuff on there as well, and all of my political opinions and all of the stuff that you don't want anything to know about, and my Wordle scores from every day, of course.
No. I think we vote the same way. I think chances are you have a truck in your driveway and not a Prius. I'm just guessing.
I don't have a Prius. I have a bigger truck than I want. Put it to you that way.
You can't get into parking garages. Can't get in your own garage. Has to be parked outside. Correct? Yeah. Not a pickup truck. I got expeditions. Full disclosure. I can't do the pickup thing. I'm from New York. It's just too rednecky for me. I'm sorry. I need a vehicle. I hear you. I got that way, but now with trucks, man, as long as I can put 3 people in the back seat, my brothers drove them. I finally got hooked on them, and now I drive my truck like a car. I had my Shelby at the time, and I think I drove them both the same damn way. And
you mentioned the Shelby.
I got my foot in it.
When I was 21 years old, I got commissioned. The first thing I did was buy a 35th anniversary special 1999 Ford Mustang.
Nice. Love the Mustangs. I had 2 of them, man. I
loved them. Did
you ever ride the motorcycles? I had Fat Boys for about 22 years.
I'd be dead in about a week. I have a propensity to go really fast and drive really inappropriately, which is bad because I have more kids than I want to count in the car. I don't really do it with them in the car. I try to maintain semblance of, but I just want to get where the hell I'm going. Driving is downtime. It always has been and always will be. And I don't understand people who don't look at it as anything else other than that.
Stay out of the fast lane. Stay out of the fast lane.
I need to get to here. Everything in between is downtime. So just move the hell out of my way. Look, I'm not asking you to break the rules. I'm just asking you to get the hell out of the way so I can.
Well, as long as you kiss everybody goodbye going, Daddy may or may not be back home. I'm about to drive fast. Take care of you. I mean, that's what you do.
I'm like Ricky Bobby.
Ricky Bobby. Just drive fast.
Just drive fast.
First, you last.
Fast, Daddy.
Oh my gosh.
That's it. All right, Brett Barty, take it. I'm going to put you in the hands of Brett and Evan, and I apologize, Mark, to anything that may go weird.
Okay. So, Mark, this is going to be really fun because this is the first time Evan and I get to do this because he's new to the cast. So we're gonna A/B rapid fire you. Maybe we'll see how this goes. All right. First,
you think you can't handle rapid fire? Please, he's on this.
I hear you. Do you enjoy being thanked for your service?
Enjoy is not the right term. I appreciate it. I don't know that I have very sordid feelings on all this. I don't want to get into a long diatribe. Like, there's nothing wrong with somebody thanking me for my service. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I do have a bigger issue with the way veterans have been portrayed, the way they've been used, the way military has been co-opted for a lot of other things. Hi, let's have military appreciation night on like August 9th. Like, what the hell's going on August 9th? That's what they did in the military. Like, I don't get it. It's stuff like that. So I genuinely appreciate people saying thank you for your service, but I just think after 20 years of war, the civil military divide hasn't gotten closer. It's actually gotten further apart. Sorry for the long answer. It's just that you hit a button.
You're good. Oh, get ready.
Is Tom Brady snubbing the Patriots, or does it not matter?
No, and it doesn't matter either way. Tom Brady can do whatever the hell he wants. Whatever the hell he wants. He's Tom Brady. Period.
Do you carry a challenge coin?
When I'm in uniform, yes. Otherwise, no.
What's the most interesting thing about the upcoming offseason?
In the NFL?
Yeah.
Oh, God, there are so many free agents out there. Quarterback carousel all over the place. More cap room than what we believe we've seen before. And, of course, the New York Jets. How will they screw it up?
Which military movie mostly resembles your experiences, and do you constantly call bullshit when you watch military movies?
I'll answer the second question first. Yes. Lone Survivor was Hollywood bullshit. It's not even remotely close to anything. But the most, I always say, whenever a military scene, like I can feel my hands start to shake, and like my adrenaline start pumping when they hit the right spot, when combat seems realistic. Like Black Hawk Down to me still has done it better than most movies as far as simulating actual combat. The Outpost does a very good job. The second half of The Outpost does a very good job. That, is what combat feels like. Saving Private Ryan was Hollywood bullshit. Bullets don't travel through water and then hit people and travel through them. People who lost their arms don't walk around randomly looking for them. That's just kind of like Hollywood crap that, people sort of gravitate towards, I guess. The only real combat scene was when they were fighting up on and you don't even see it. They were going up the hill to take the machine gun position. But regardless, yeah, I call bullshit whenever I see it in military movies, because the biggest thing for all of us is just be authentic, right? Don't portray our service in ways don't portray combat in ways that's not realistic. Like The Hurt Locker was total crap. That's another one. That movie sucked. That was such Hollywood bulls. Am I allowed to curse here?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
All right, that was Hollywood bullshit. That thing sucked. Nothing bad against Jeremy Renner. I think he's a good actor, but that was just it broke every single rule of the military that we ever used. Yeah, I'm gonna bomb, so I'm just gonna take it off because I'm cool.
Right.
Stupid.
Final question for me, two-parter. What do you think about the new Washington Commanders name? And also, what team name would you choose to switch? Not because of controversy, but because it sucks and you'd like to improve it.
I think they botched the reveal about as bad as anybody could botch a reveal, as people were taking pictures of the stadium ahead of time and figuring out what the name was. Like, you knew it was going to leak, but at least have it leak in ways that's like, not the Dick's Sporting Good employee sending texts to his friends, like, just for crying out loud, man. Like, I get you. You don't have to put it in this store. That people will still buy it a week later if they're interested in it. I thought the uniforms were a little bit blah. Like I said, you ever seen the movie Two for the Money?
Yeah.
With Matthew McConaughey and Al Pacino.
Yes.
It's based on a real life story about, any movie that uses football that doesn't have like NFL rights or NCAA rights to actually put it on, the plain blue and the plain red uniforms, that's what that
right.
Yeah.
That's what it reminded me of. And I don't hate Commanders.
If you could change any team name, though, not just the Commanders, pick any team in the NFL because the name sucks.
Browns.
Change it. Browns.
What the hell's a Brown?
All right, maybe I made
Named
that
after
too easy.
Named after their old owner.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean,
can I go after Cincinnati and say I don't dig the Bengal tiger print down the side of your pants and on your helmet?
Oh, really?
By far the best helmet in all of football. I will argue this with anybody.
Actually, I would disagree and say the Rams.
I liked it when I was a kid. It said Bengals across it. I like that better.
I mean, look, are the Bears called the Hallises? Like, that's stupid.
Oh God, thank God. By the way.
Hey, the Falcons could be the blanks.
No, we'll take that.
They've been shooting blanks for a while now, so don't worry about it.
Hey, yo.
My whole life.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to hit you with two last ones. Realistically, members of our military, how much Toby Keith do they listen to?
Who's Toby Keith?
There you go.
Oh my God, that was the
I
funniest
put
thing
a
you could have
boot
said.
in your
That was-
ass.
Is that that's country music? I don't listen to country music.
It's
Ever.
American. It's American.
Okay, I don't know. Who it is. Does he
Real
wear
question.
a cowboy hat when he sings? I don't know who it is. I'm not going to pay attention. Sorry.
How about Leonard Skinner? Does that work for you?
Those are the Alabama guys?
Yeah.
Florida.
Well, they died. Yeah. Well, no, they're
Okay.
Jacksonville, Florida guys. They're Florida boys, but Leonard Skinner, come out.
Alabama.
They love that Alabama.
Guys.
I know you're the Alabama guy.
I'm from New York, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I mean, I just, country music comes on and run out of the room. I change the station. So is he the guy who sings American Soldier, Keith?
Yep.
I'll put a boot in your ass.
Yeah, I know. I'm an American Soldier. That song.
Yes.
Mhm.
That him?
I think that's him.
Yep.
I think I've heard that song, but yeah, I couldn't. You'd have to tell. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup if there was a shotgun in my mouth. I would never be able to figure out who it is.
Well,
So,
he's in.
but I
he's
assume a lot because there are a lot of rednecks in the military.
He's an enormous
bet.
human being. I think he played in the CFL for a while before he
Did he
became-
really?
Yeah,
What?
he did. Yeah, he did.
All right, that's
Uh,
news to me.
I met him at
Didn't know
the-
that.
Who was the guy married to Faith Hill who was in The Blind Side?
Tim McGraw.
Oh yeah.
Tim McGraw.
Tim
I was
McGraw.
going to say
Yeah.
Tug McGraw, but it's not Tug. Yeah, so that guy I know, but he doesn't sing, does he?
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Does?
He does.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
He
never-
acts and he sings. He does both.
He's now in the TV show 1883.
Oh,
So if you
okay.
watch the Yellowstone
I
prequel,
do watch Yellowstone.
Yep, he's in the
Love
prequel that's out.
Yellowstone.
He's the main character. Okay, last question though. This is a real question. Are we doing enough for our veterans?
Too much.
What do
Wow.
you mean by that?
Okay, so you hit another spot here. We have gotten to a point now where, like, we have trained veterans to believe that they're owed something, and we're not. We're not owed anything. You know what we're owed? We're owed better health care. We're owed better government health care. We're owed that. That we are definitely owed. Okay, we are owed better post-deployment care, and taking care of us from that aspect. That's what we are owed for service to our nation. I'm not owed a free meal at Applebee's. I'm not owed 10% off of my car oil change. I'm not owed, a special seat on a plane. I'm not owed any of those things. And it's weird because it's a weird dichotomy. It's like, we have a military discount. We don't have a military. Well, if you have one, like, it's just, we're in this weird space where there's a guilt from America about not serving, and it needs to be removed. There's nothing you need to be guilty about for not choosing to serve. No one should ever feel guilty because it's not the path that they chose. Guess what, guys? This shit isn't for everybody, and it never has been. That's why we got rid of the draft, right? Because it crippled our country to a certain extent. Look what happened in the 60s and the 70s for everybody who came home from those wars, okay, via the draft. Look what it did to them. So it's not for everybody, and it doesn't have to be for everybody. And so stop having guilt, America, about not serving. You send us to war, that's fine. All we ask, and here's the other thing we're owed. We are owed by the people who send us to war to have the same fortitude and courage to see through the mission that you sent us to do 100% without pulling the plug on it for other non-military reasons. If you're going to send us to war, you better have the balls to keep us at war until the job is done. That's what we're owed. We're owed nothing else from anybody. I don't need military appreciation nights. I don't need camouflage uniforms. I don't need salute to service. I don't need to see Rob Gronkowski doing any more USAA commercials. I don't need to see.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I don't need to see any of that. I'm not owed any of that. I'm owed for the government to take care of my health and my body that they destroyed. Okay. That got destroyed during combat. That I'm owed. Okay. And I am owed that my leaders have the strength and the fortitude in decision-making that I am asked to have in combat. That's what I'm owed. And that's
God,
it.
why doesn't somebody say that to a damn politician? I tell you, man, that was well said, sir. Well said.
There are a lot. There needs to be more veterans in politics. Period. But there's no room for us because we're not millionaires.
Yep. No gripe there, and agreed. That's the problem with our country, man. Spot on. I've really enjoyed talking to you, man. I love your headspace. I'm not going to lie. It's very impressive. Mark Zinno, our guest here today on show 118 on the Yeah Come On show. Special thanks to him, our sponsors, joebees.com, oxygenfinancial.com, Circle 285, and Ridgeline Counseling with Dr. David Markwell. Brett Barney, thank you, our co-host and our co-host, Brando. Mark, thanks again for being on, man. You take care and be safe, and good luck to all our wallets for the big game coming up next weekend.
Same to you, gentlemen. Good luck. Thank you.
Take care, buddy.